Mckeon, partner at the JMB FLP. Today we'll be looking at the picks from Jim Cramers' show Mad Money by comparing him against his own website, TheStreet.com. Now again, I'd like to remind you this is merely a review of the show Mad Money and only looks at the upside plays from this show. And all analyst recommendations are as of October 13th, 2009. Now if you were to look at all of the plays that Jim Cramer chose to move to the upside in that night's show, using Jim Cramer's own website, TheStreet.com, he rates only 3 of those a buy recommendation using his own website. He has NICE, NKE, and TELK all coming into the buy camp. You can also see all of Jim Cramer's picks that he chose to stay in the hold camp, and all of the ones that he chose to move to the upside that he rates a sell on his own website, TheStreet.com. So, if you were to add all those up and give himself a report card, Jim Cramer's own website, TheStreet.com, would rate himself a 2.11 out of 4 GPA, or a good solid C- for that night's show. Now, if you were to compare that against my system of using 5 separate websites to come up with an average analyst ranking, we'll come up with something slightly different. Of course, I'd like to remind you that TheStreet.com is one of those 5 websites. Now, you can see that NICE, CELG, and TKLC come into the buy camp. And you can also see the ones that Jim Cramer's plays that made it into the hold and sell camps as well. So I would rate his stocks for that night's show a 3.39 or a good solid hold for that night's show. So putting the two systems side by side, you can see we roughly have the same stocks to move to the upside. And you can see that Jim Cramer rates his stocks a 2.11 out of 4 GPA or a C-, and I rate them a hold as well. So again, I'd like to remind you that all analyst recommendations are as of October 13th, 2009. And I am not a licensed investment advisor, and the investments I am showing you today are what I'm doing for my friends and family's accounts. And I am not affiliated with CNBC or any of its affiliates, or any of the websites used to determine these rankings. And I currently own none of the stocks discussed today. Now again, this is Brian Mckeon, creator of The Predatory Lender. Now instead of ending tonight's show with my usual ads, where I show you all the latest things going on at The Predatory Lender, I would like to comment on Don Harold's video, where he talked about Jim Cramer. Now I would say there are many controversial things here, and could be left up to opinion. So I would say, let's look at what Jim Cramer thinks of his own stocks over the last couple weeks. Now, back on July 24th, Jim Cramer only felt confident enough in his own picks to rate only 2 of the stocks a buy using his own website, TheStreet.com. Then, on August 7th, 2009, of all the stocks that he chose to move higher on that night show, only 3 of them he felt confident enough in to move higher using his own website, TheStreet.com. He also told the public 1 stock to move higher that wasn't even covered on his own website, TheStreet.com. Then, if you look over to September 11th, he had 4 stocks that made it into the buy camp. And on September 14th, he only chose 1 stock that night, and that made it into the buy camp. Of course, you also have to realize that half of that night's show was an interview with the president, so he was only able to pick 1 stock that night. As for September 25th show, he had 2 stocks that he felt good enough to rate as a buy using his own website, TheStreet.com. He also presented 3 stocks to the public, which he has no analyst coverage using his own website, TheStreet.com. And on October 9th, 2009, he had 4 stocks that he chose to move to the upside. And on October 13th, he had 3 stocks that he chose to move to the upside. So, if you look at all these night shows, side by side, you can see that Jim Cramer feels confident enough in his own stock picking ability to give himself a 2.19 GPA, or a good solid C-. So, I don't know about you, but I feel if you are going to make a recommendation on something, you should have enough confidence in yourself to have every single one of these rated a buy using your own website, thestreet.com. So I would say everything in this section here should be blue. So I say to Jim, we at the Predatory Lending Network clearly welcome this type of behavior where you say one thing and do another. And if you continue to keep this type of behavior up, I will surely welcome you at my current accommodations.